Hit the like and subscribe. Sean Diddy Combs, brother, your prayers have been answered. He's been acquitted of the racketeering and sex trafficking charges, found guilty on 2 of the 5 counts. So let's pull it up. So these are the charges here. Count 1, racketeering and conspiracy, not guilty. That's one of the main ones. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. In regards to Cassie, not guilty. I mean, they saw the text. I'm always down to freak off, right? That's what she said. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution with Cassie Ventura, guilty. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion with, quote, Jane, which I believe that's 50 Cent's ex, or whatever, who Puffy was still paying her rent out of the apartment that she's in. Not guilty there, but guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution with her. So basically, he was not guilty on the major charges, right? Sex trafficking, coercion, and racketeering. It was even a joke that they wasted federal taxpayer dollars on this nonsense. Federal raid on the man's house, and I knew once they started talking about some baby oil, I knew they didn't have much of anything. But you wait for the trial, maybe they just said, but actually I read what they had. I didn't see anything. Nothing substantive anyway. So, but I was like, you never know. Let's get to trial and see what happened. Cassie was the star witness. She made herself look bad. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get into some expert analysis. So via TMZ, we have an attorney here, Joe Tacopina. Let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say.
You called it. You really did.
I don't think I need to be a genius to call this. I mean, that was a case that was so over prosecuted. It was really the most expensive prostitution trial in the history of American jurisprudence. That's all it was. Racketeering to me was a joke. A racketeering enterprise. I mean, when we think of racketeering, we think of things like organized crime, drug cartels, vicious gangs who were born to commit crimes. I mean, was never a racketeering case. Sex trafficking is a high standard. Sex trafficking, you really need fraud, coercion, force. There was so much evidence of consent in this case that it was impossible for 12 people to believe that sex trafficking happened. That was not sex trafficking. Again, that was some horrific stuff and whatever, but everyone was a willing participant at times. So, it was, to me, it was absolutely going to wind up being this way. And if you have a doubt that's based on reason, you must acquit. And here, there was so much evidence of consent. I mean, if you looked at the contemporaneous text messages that were elicited by the defense throughout this trial of Cassie and the other one, it was clear that they were consenting, at least at portions of this. So, when is it consensual? When is it not consensual? I mean, this case was, again, I called it from the beginning, not because I'm a fortune teller. I think I called it because the evidence and the charges sort of were pretty clear to me that this was going to wind up being a prostitution conviction. And we spent God knows how many billions of dollars in federal court talking about baby oil, applesauce on hamburgers, the stupidest stuff I've ever heard, urination, the things that you really don't expect to hear in a federal district court. That was the gist of this testimony. So, look, Diddy was proven to be a bad guy, but this is not the case. This was not the case to bring against him. The whole thing was weird. It was not done right, and it was done, as I've said before, I believe to garner, publicity for certain individuals, and maybe they wanted to make a name for themselves. But this did not help anyone's career from the U.S. Attorney's Office, that's for sure.
You called it.
So there you have it. And to piggyback on this point, every now and then you do have some hotshots who are trying to get federal funding for certain things, so they need to prove their worth. So they need to reel in a big fish, somebody with a name. So it served a double purpose. If we can get this dude, it'll make me look good, but we'll also be able to, I mean, look, I think they raided the man's house for a reason. Because he's not the only one who's involved in sex parties in Hollywood. Oh, and by the way, a lot of this stuff started happening once he was getting into it with that liquor company, right? I mean, he was going back and forth with them saying that he wanted ownership. The only reason why your broad in 2002 and 3 and 4 and 5 or whatever he started his relationship with these people wanted to have Ciroc poured down her throat was because of him. Because of Puffy. Wasn't nobody looking for Ciroc like that before he became involved. So once he started talking about one ownership and starting or trying to maybe start a new political party, not being attached at the hip with the Democrats. Nah, brother, now you got to go. You're getting too big for your britches. So we're going to raid your house. We're going to take all the possible, anything that you could possibly use to blackmail anybody else who's higher than you. We're going to take all that. We're going to ruin your reputation. You're cooked. And I don't like Puffy, by the way. Never have. I don't think he's a good person. But like they said, this was overcharged by a lot. By a lot. I have a little bit more to say about this. I might make a separate video because there's lots of layers to this. And separate, even to forget about him, but just in general, right? But I'm going to get into this. The judge denied bail. So he's going to remain in jail until sentencing. Basically, from what I understand, they denied bail because of the prosecution. Basically because of what he was accused of is violent, right? So because of that, they have to, the prosecution wanted to keep him in jail. And so he's going to stay in jail until sentencing. Now, what kind of sentence he's going to get, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Nobody that's been prosecuted under these charges has not or has gotten significant time unless it's involved children. It's usually a slap on the wrist. So we'll have to see what happens in that regard. But until then, I want to touch on this component of it. They were able to put these charges on him due to the Mann Act. The Mann Act was put into place for Jack Johnson in order to prosecute him, who had a white wife or girlfriend or something like that he was taking across state lines. Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. And he was a very, very, he was a very, very cocky man, right? So I remember a story where he was speeding. He gets pulled over. I think the fine was like $25 or something like that. He gave the cop $50. The cop asked, "Why'd you give me $50? He said, "I'll be back around through here in a few hours. So this is going to cover that." And this is a man who was alive in the early 1900s. You know, you understand me? So there was a man who wasn't walking around fearful as they tried to make it seem like most black men were. It wasn't the case. Well, let's go ahead and listen to this. I think this Chris Cuomo is going to go ahead and talk about it.
More about the government and less a judgment about Sean Diddy Combs. 8 men and 4 women found that the government overreached. They met a federal crime out of Diddy's immoral lifestyle. He was convicted on 2 charges of paying for sex workers to cross state lines, which, by all lights, he did. He's guilty. But all this for that? A law originally from 1910 that was called the White Slave Act, that was really just about, the government kind of censoring relationships they didn't like. Not that human trafficking isn't real, but human trafficking implies what? That you're taking people who don't want to be taken and doing things to them that they don't want done. More about the government and less a judgment about Sean Diddy Combs.
So there you have it. It's a definite indictment on the government that, again, they would waste our tax dollars on this nonsense. Puffy is a degenerate. We've known that. He's in Hollywood. He's far from the only one. Puffy comes from a time, there was a man alive when he came on the scene named Hugh Hefner. Had a bunch of young broads around him all the time. He's a man in his probably 60s or 70s at the time, walking around in a smoking jacket, and half naked chicks or fully naked chicks around him at all times. And not all of them were of age, by the way. That man got to live his life, have probably thousands of broads run in and out of his house. According to what the new standard of quote unquote trafficking is, trafficked them. Had all kinds of orgies and sex parties at his house. He got to live his life and die in peace. Reputation intact. When he's a full-on degenerate. Full-on degenerate. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. And hit that like and subscribe. But you know what? Let me read a couple comments. Let's see what happens. Let me go back to that last video, actually. Let's see what the people have to say. mgold_ loves hair. Example. Hugh Hefner. Oh, there it is. Hugh Hefner had the biggest freak offs with all his Playboy bunnies. He died a stud. Let's see what responses people give to this. And many people that were alive and many people that were there are alive to tell about it. He was propped up as a dude who was living a lifestyle like, man, that's the ultimate bachelor lifestyle. That's what these young celebrities were almost groomed to aspire to be him. It is what it is. Let me see. Exactly, as she says, exactly. Hollywood is used to their private freak-off drug parties. Diddy's parties are nothing new. What made Diddy look like a villain was the beating he did on Cassie. And let me tell you something. You think Puffy the only dude that put hands on a broad? You kidding me? In Hollywood? Let's see. Oh, excuse me. Okay, let's see what this person they're refuting. Did Hugh have to pay sex workers and drug people to get them to do what he wanted? Did Hugh record his freak offs? Was Hugh beating women? Did he have to buy tons of baby oil and rub other men's jizz on his nipples? Did Hugh damage hotel rooms to the point that they had to be closed? It's not close to the same. This person's a clown. What are we talking about here? You think there weren't drugs at the Playboy parties? Parties that the Playboy mentioned? You serious? Are you so naive that you don't think they were flying? There was girls getting flown in from all over the place. The chicks that was in the magazines and their content that they were creating were flown in, came in to party. What you talking about, man? Who is this? Pink Lady 6582? Get it together. Puffy's a degenerate, and that's undeniable. But Hugh Hefner makes him look like a Boy Scout. You gotta be kidding me, man. See if anybody responds to that person at all. Doesn't look like it. Anyway, 916_Jamie, free that man. Let's see, William Aston, Jack Johnson, the first heavyweight boxing champion with quote unquote melanin, was crossing state lines with a white woman back in 1910, and they created the law to convict him. That's exactly what happened. Let's see, Saucy Dabadi says, I see you were paying attention. Oh, Lord have mercy. Let's see. Vanetta Hankins. Everybody needs to understand this was never about Cassie. This was about the lawsuit with Ciroc, and I agree with that. I think that played a role in it. And then see what ends up happening a lot of times. These dudes feel like they're getting too big for their britches. Drake, you better be careful, brother. You better be careful. These lawsuits you putting on these music companies, brother. You better be careful. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Love Nation Multimedia. What has happened in this world? We literally saw with our own eyes him assault a woman trying to run away from him, hiring people to sexually assault her because he was forcing her to participate, threw her to the ground, kicking her. Photos and witnesses testify to this happening to her over and over again. He pays police officers, hotels, etc. For years to cover his assaults. She constantly had infections and mouth sores, and Cuomo is fine with this. How evil, sick, and cruel is this country, God? And ma'am,
The fuck is that? Shit!
that woman was a willing participant. That woman was not up under him 24/7. She moved around freely. She was having sex with all kinds of people. She was dating some football player, something like that, while she was dealing with him. Ended up going with Alex Fine, and when like she says, she dumped him. That's what she says, because he didn't hold her as in as high esteem as he did Kim Porter. So that was she realized at that point that she would never be able to take that top position in his heart. So she left. She wasn't forced to do any of this. This woman had a man before she met him, dumped that man, Ryan Leslie, to be with him. This broad ain't no victim, man. And she was on tape threatening people's lives. She was the one coordinating a lot of this stuff. All the prostitutes, the male prostitutes that I've heard, they said that she was the one coordinating, paying them, and all this other stuff. She was doing it. She was an active participant. Let's see what people say to this. Jay's 50-30 odd. You must not have watched what happened in the courtroom. Stayed with the man for a decade. You gotta be kidding me, bro. New York City girl 69. She stayed with him and allowed herself to be urinated on. She settled and received $30 million. The end. Exactly. Cook promotional products. Nah, she was stealing his $125,000 while he was taking a shower. The first thing he did was check his bag of money, and that she tried to steal it, but got caught in the act. She ended up getting $20 million anyway, but she got her butt kicked and dragged for stealing his bag of money. Go back, check the video. You probably think that was okay too, huh, lady? You know, that was one thing. It's curious. I was wondering what the background was, right? So she's leaving. He's in a bathrobe, or excuse me, a bath towel, running down the hall, putting the boots to her. Now, I'm not saying that was right. And I'm like, what happened to cause that to happen, right? That could be a plausible theory there. But anyway, let me know what you guys think and hit that like and subscribe, please. Should Puffy have gotten more time? Should he have been guilty on all 5 counts? Should he have been found not guilty on all 5 counts? Or was the jury's decision spot on? Let me know what you guys think. Hit the like, subscribe. Till next time, I'm out.